It's Braun and Pierzynski for a Legends Territory, and if you like what you're seeing, if you're watching on YouTube, you can also listen to this show wherever you get your podcasts. And for more info on your favorite former players from the MLBPAA, go to baseballalumni.com. Let's bring in our next guest. 12 years in the bigs, part of some really strong Philadelphia Phillies team, including their last World Series championship in 2008. Brett Myers joins us right now. Brett, great to see you, man. How's life? What are you up to?
Guys. It's good. Just chasing kids, man. I'm sure AJ can attest to that. We're just trying to get our kids ready to play ball, and thank goodness they still play for me because it keeps me around the game. I'd probably go crazy if they weren't playing. So,
do you want to be involved in the game? Like, I guess, depending on where your kids are, and I know you want to spend some dad time, but would you want to be, a coach or involved at all with an organization?
yeah, I think some probably down the road or whatever like that. But I got a 12 and 13-year-old behind my my senior this year, so it's kind of like I'm in between. Like I want to do it, but at the same time, how much does that take away from them, and how much time can I actually spend with them to work with them? And they don't. AJ could probably tell you this. They don't listen to us at past a certain age anyway.
For sure. Listen, it happens. You're dad. Oh,
Yeah.
Dad, what do you know about baseball? You didn't ever do it. I did
Yeah.
okay. I played till I was 40.
Yeah. Yep. My kids always tell me I stink, but then again, my two younger ones weren't around. They were probably 2 and 3 when I retired and everything. So the oldest boy knows a little bit more about it, but he's at that point where he doesn't listen to me anyway. Actually, he's headed out to the cage now to work with Travis Chapman, the first base coach with the Yankees. So, and I grew up with Travis, so he's going to come over and work with him a little bit. So, because I can't tell him anything that he'll listen to anymore. So, whatever I can get him to help him along his path.
You got to run back some dig me video. You got to have the highlights ready to go
Well,
on the phone.
I think
hitting wise, no, but
oh, come on now! Like I hit 800 in the playoffs in '08, so I do show that. He laughs at me because it was terrible. I mean, went 4 for 5 with like 3 RBIs, and I couldn't tell you how the hell I did it at all. Like, I mean, I used to be a pretty good hitter in high school, but I guess most of us were, But when they start throwing that 95 on the corner with some movement and stuff, it's a little different. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm lucky if I can bunt this stuff.
It's gone now, but that was the only fun part for me was when you would have games like that because people are standing up. Sometimes it's almost like sarcastic depending on who the pitcher is. And then all of a sudden, a pitcher has a 3 or 4 hit game. I mean, 4 hit game you would never see towards the end because they weren't in the game long enough. But that is crazy, man.
Well, some of the guys, like some pitchers were really good hitters back then. I was just fortunate enough to just try to slap the ball the other way and maybe have something fall in. I mean, I would take big cuts, but it just looked pretty. It wasn't. There was no results after that. Good 5 o'clock hitter, I guess I would say.
Listen, Brett he can't be involved in baseball, dude. He's Mr. Country Music Star now, right? He's got albums out now. He plays guitar. He played guitar when we played together, but now you got albums out. Tell me about your albums and when do I get an autographed copy of one?
Well, I don't think that we had hard copies. You have to come to a show, but the hard copies it's too hard to, I guess, try to mail the stuff out, sell it and stuff like that. But you can get it all online, off of iTunes or whatever like that. So I started that when I got done playing. I just kind of enjoyed like writing songs and stuff like that. And then I'd never planned on singing any of the stuff because, but then I kind of got forced into doing it. We wrote the song. Producers like, get in there and sing it. Took me 2 weeks. I'm like, hell no, I'm not going to do that, man. Like, I don't even want my name attached to it. I wanted us to call us like some other kind of band and he's like, well, we can't market it if your name's not on it. And I'm like, well, I'm nobody type of thing. So the first song we did, he invited me over and he's like having some people over and he goes, let's have some drinks or whatever. I was probably 7, 8 beers deep like most people. And then they get the balls to get up there and start singing and everything. So that's kind of how the whole thing started. I didn't know what the hell I was doing other than just writing the lyrics and stuff like that. But the singing part was not in the plans, I can tell you that. But I got more comfortable with it, like anything you do. If you start practicing, and you get better at it. So I needed less beers each album, I guess I would say. Like the first album, I was probably 7, 8 beers deep every song I went in there and sang. So
less liquid courage now. You can just do it.
We need something. We need something now. We need like a
little riff
here.
I don't have anything here with me, man.
You can't just sing like a cappella, like let's go, bust out. Come on.
Did you not just hear what I said? I need at least 7-8 beers at least to do this live
exactly.
too. You know what I mean? when we do live shows, man, I'm definitely 7-8 beers deep before I get up there. It's nerve wracking, man. Like people ask me, like you could pitch in front of 40,000 people, no problem. I was like, yeah, but I've been doing that since I was 5 years old, like playing baseball. It's not like I just jump into the singing stuff and they're like, oh, let's play a live show. Well, I said I'll only play a live show if I play an arena. When I was kidding, obviously, because I knew that would never happen. Well, my first live show was in the Jacksonville arena at a halftime show for the Jacksonville Sharks. So I kind of stuck my foot in my mouth and ended up having to play a live show. And granted, it was only 2 songs, but I mean, I probably I write the songs and stuff, but you still kind of have to be on time and remember them and everything. So it's very nerve wracking, but it becomes fun, and it kind of gave me that I guess I'd say the adrenaline rush again, kind of playing and performing and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's pretty cool that I've worked with some pretty big people in the industry too, just from my standpoint. So it's pretty cool.
That was going to be my next question. So I'm sitting next to one of the biggest name droppers in the biz. The mayor of Orlando sitting next to me.
Yeah. So not true. So not true.
Every week. So I'm going golfing with name that actor, name that famous athlete. So you can kind of kick it back a little bit here to AJ, because I'm sure you've been getting some help, especially on the music career, with some pretty famous friends.
Yeah, I've done some songs and stuff with Colt Ford, and then I did a song with Leonard Skinner, lead singer Johnny Van Zant, on my last album, which was pretty cool. Very intimidating though, when you have to get in front of a microphone and try to sing in front of this guy that's done it his whole life, and he has the Van Zant last name, and his brother was the started Leonard Skinner and stuff. So it's kind of like I'm sitting in front of Johnny Van Zant and Donnie Van Zant with 38 Special, and they're like, all right, go ahead and sing it. And I'm like, could y'all leave? I don't because I'm going to screw up, and I just don't I feel like, most people with these lead singer stuff, they just bang it out in one take, you would think, man, but it's a process with some, like the tone they try to get and everything like that. And I didn't want to take up too much of their time. So I didn't want to be in there like, yeah, that stinks, let me do it again, and keep doing it over and over. But yeah, so that was very intimidating for me to have to get in front of those guys. And the songwriting part was easy with them. That just came naturally. But they're like, all right, there's the mic, sing it. And I'm like, oh, man. It's kind of like AJ just put me on the spot to try to get me to sing right there. Yeah, that's not going to that's not happening, man. It takes a little lubrication before you get going and feel comfortable.
Yeah, we'd have to dip into the cabin.
Yeah, I was going to say, turn around and freaking rip a shot. Let's go.
Yeah, I know, right? It's a little early.
It is. Do any of the names that you just mentioned, did they kind of flip it back to you at all? Like, hey, this should be easy for you, like you mentioned, you've been in front of a ton of people with pressure where you don't get to redo anything, right? You don't get another take. I mean, you get another pitch, but like if you fuck up, you fuck up in baseball.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I guess that was like the biggest fear for me, is just like not wanting to suck or fuck it up or whatever, but and when you play live shows, it's like that. Like you have to be on. I mean, people can tell you've been to concerts before. You can kind of tell when somebody's not on the right track and everything like that of the song that you normally hear. I mean, shoot, I've done it, it's just, that's the most nerve wracking part about it, messing that part up. Now the studio stuff, you can click and delete and redo it if you want to, but live shows are crazy, man. But like I said, a couple shots of whiskey and about 7 beers, I'm good to go. I did get in trouble for throwing beers into the crowd. I think I might have hit somebody one time, so I had to stop doing that. So I was trying to get them drunk, so they didn't have to really pay attention to what I was really doing. So maybe it sounds better when I'm drunk listening to it. You know what I mean?
So, but here's the problem, okay? Because I can tell you from like a normal person perspective, a full can of beer coming from the hand of someone who's able to throw
Yeah.
a baseball way, way harder than just about any human being on the planet, you probably sometimes don't realize the strength. We asked a pitcher this on one of our shows one time, and he had a great answer. I think he was like playing catch with his kid, and he's throwing too hard to them, right? Is that ringing a bell?
Yeah.
Where it's like you don't realize how hard you throw compared to anyone else that you're around.
I underhanded it, so I told them it was coming so they could see it. I just didn't. I mean, you get excited up there sometimes, and I like my bass player, who's my producer, and he goes, "Yeah, I don't think I would do that anymore, man. You just hit that guy right in the face." I said, "Well, what did he do?" He goes, "He picked it up and chugged it." I said, "Yeah, there we go." I don't know if it made his face feel better. I don't know, man. I'm glad nothing came of that, but I was like, yeah, I better stop doing that. And plus, that leaves me less beer. But I was, you try to get the crowd interacting and share a beer with them, type of thing, man. And I can't do that no more. So,
Brett, what's more nerve wracking, when you were pitching in Philly, and those fans were, they come for you, or when you take that stage and you have to sing your songs and not fuck up the words?
Yeah, I would say I could deal with the fans in Philly better than fucking up the words, man. I don't know, man. I'm telling you, I don't think I could get up there without any beers in me and not be like relaxed, and do it. I mean, even though we rehearsed for probably, I'm just afraid of anything like messing up, like the mic going out or my ears not working to where I can't hear the band playing and stuff like that. I guess that's the biggest fear of something going wrong, which has done it before. And it's just kind of like I hear nothing, and I got to pull the ears out and try to be on time with that. And sometimes it doesn't sound exactly like the album does, type of thing. So you're kind of like trying to be right in the pocket so it doesn't suck. And so I would say that's probably a little bit more nerve wracking, hoping that nothing goes wrong. I guess I would say that just because basically you can get one show. It's like singing the national anthem. If you fuck that up, dude, you're done. Like if you are a musician, your career's over. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, they're gonna show forever.
Like you're done, man. So you don't. I guess that's one of my fears, is like not being able to go out there and put on the best show I can. Even though we've had technical difficulties before. I'm sure y'all deal with it with this show sometimes. So, so it's just, that's the scariest part. So. And when you're live, that's the scariest part. So,
yeah, but I mean, you did that, obviously flipping back to the pitching side then, and you did it as a starter, and you did it coming out of the bullpen. Did you have anything that you did to make sure that you felt like you were in a good spot, or eventually it was just like, whatever, it's clockwork, I've been in the league forever?
There's a lot of things that you do to try to break the if you string of bad luck or not playing well or something like that. I mean, there's been times where I would drink a couple beers before I'd go out there and pitch, just to lock it in or something, whatever. That I've done that before, but I guess it was more of a like trying to find a routine, and then when I realized, I guess later in my career, is like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as you get your work in the week prior of starting or whatnot. And then as a closer, man, it's like, you don't know when you're going to pitch. So you're going to have some beers every night, instead of, like, I guess when I was younger, I was like, I had a 2-day rule where I wouldn't drink 2 days prior to pitching. And then that went out the window at the older I got, because I was like, I don't care. That's not going to affect the way either I'm going to be good, or I'm going to have to battle through it, or I'm going to suck. There's only 3 options that were going to happen. So I put too much, I guess, thought process into the routine. I guess the week leading up to the start, the 4 days leading up to the start. Like if I had a good one, I wanted to do exactly what I did the last time. And then I was like, well, that didn't work, because it's like good one, then bad one. So the routine stuff, it kind of fuck with you a little bit mentally. And then when you just say screw it, I guess, and just kept the same routine and kept just saying whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And that's kind of how I felt like I got better later in my career with that stuff, just the mental stuff of it.
Did you have people to turn to? Like, who stood out when you think back? Like, were there guys that you went to and said, hey, like, how do you stay so consistent? Or, what do you think I should do?
when I wasn't going good, I was probably too big of an asshole to even talk to anybody. I was just trying to figure it out myself, man. But I would say, like, watching Cole Hamels when he came up and stuff like that. I remember sitting there talking with him in the clubhouse, and it's about 30 minutes for a game, and we're just shooting the shit or whatever. And then he goes, "Hey, I got to go get ready." And I was like, I didn't even know he was pitching that day. Like the days that I would pitch, that I would start, I would just be quiet. Like the teammates in Philly would be like, "Oh, Myers must be pitching. We haven't heard him today." So that's kind of how I was. I just try to, but I focused too early. So watching him those years in Philly, when he crossed those lines, like he was a super competitor, like he was an ass. And then like when he came into the dugout, he was just like, I was like, how do you turn the switch off like that? Like he was just able to turn it on when he crossed the lines and turn it off. And I know there's a lot of guys out there that could do that. I was just not one of those dudes. Like if it was that day that I was going to pitch, it just clicked. But when I went to the bullpen those couple of times, when I pitched out of the bullpen for those 2 years, that I started to learn how when the switch needed to be turned on. Like you could see, like, all right, how the game was going in the 5th, 6th inning, whether or not you were going to pitch or not, and you kind of started to try to turn the switch on. So I would say that probably Hamels probably helped me the most with being a starter. Of you never knew if he was pitching or if he wasn't.
What do they call that? Method acting? Isn't that where you just play the persona?
Well, he was left-handed too, so he's weird. Like all lefties are weird. So
no, but you were method acting, I think, if I'm getting the term right, where it's like you have to play the whole like I'm gonna go kick your ass thing the whole day.
Yeah. Some starters were like Brett, some were like Cole. There was guys.
Yeah.
I played with some starters that like you didn't talk to him. Like we've talked to Scherzer plenty of times. He's like, "Oh, my start days, you don't talk to me, right?"
Yeah.
And then Burley was gone when you came to the White Sox, but he didn't give a shit. He'd be like goofing around with you, like he's gonna warm up in 2 minutes, and he's in there, playing grab ass in the clubhouse with everybody. And I'm like, Mark, are you starting today? He's like, yeah. Well, so what? Like I'll be ready when the game starts. Like it's a different personality for every person. It just depended on how they had to get ready for the game.
Right. And I kind of pitched off of like, I guess, I don't know. I always felt like these guys were trying to steal my lunch money or take my girlfriend from me or some shit like that. So I was just like always, like wanting to fight all the time, I guess I would say. Just a real intense type of player. And I didn't know how to like turn it on and off. Even like when I was away from the field at times, man, like I didn't like to be bothered. I felt like if I talked to the wrong person or the wrong fan, I was going to have a bad outing type thing, man. It would. And then later in my career, after 08, I got sent down that year when we won the World Series. And at that point, I was just like, fuck it. Like it didn't matter at that point. I'm just going to go, and it can't get much worse type of thing, So I was just like, I'm just go get them.
Yeah, that's
at some point you have to say that as a player.
Yep. I tell you, I had. It was still that way when I crossed the lines, but then I didn't. I guess I didn't stress about it as much because it already was worse than it could be. You get sent down after you had 5 years in the big leagues, and then they go, hey, we're going to send you down to AAA, and I'm like, I ain't going. Like, I ain't going, but I'm not helping the team here either. I was like, can't you just put me in the bullpen so I don't have to eat peanut butter and jelly down there? But I mean, you get a little spoiled with it, but I had to swallow my pride and just go down there and try to come back, and came back, and we made a run and won the World Series. And then I guess I would say after my hip surgery in 09 that I had, 2010, I was just like, fuck it, like whatever. I only got one call that offseason, 2010. It was with the Astros for a 1-year deal, and I ended up finishing like probably the best year of my career. And I literally didn't. I was like, I don't know this could be it. This could be the last. It's like the only team that wants me. So I was just kind of like, well, I just kind of went in there with an open mind and I said, fuck it. And best ERA year of my career, and had a great pitching coach that kind of helped me relax with that stuff too, and Brad Arnsberg. So it wasn't like a lot of pressure. He kind of did all the work for us.
Career high innings pitched that year too, 223 and 2/3. So yeah, worked out pretty well. When back to the time when you said you kind of hit the low point and were sent down, Did you actually fight it and be like, no, screw you? Like,
Oh yeah,
I'm not going down. I've been in the league. It's not like I'm in the league, first year, second year, and you were close to being at a point probably where they can't do that. I guess you still had options.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, I was there with the 5 years that I didn't have to go. So I called my agent, and I was just super pissed off, about it. But at the same time, like, that was more of a pride thing, I think, more than it was am I really helping the team? Because I know it was in Texas, and I went to Charlie after the game because I got my shit pushed in, man, pretty good, and I was getting my shit pushed in the whole year pretty much, and I went to Charlie and I was like, you got to put me back in the bullpen because in 07 I was the closer, so I was really trying to figure out how to start again, and I still wasn't over them trading for Brad Lidge and putting me back in the rotation because I really enjoyed closing. Well, I kind of told them that off season that I was better than Lidge. Well, I stuck my foot in my mouth with that one too because he only went 40 for 40 that year. So I didn't. I damn sure wouldn't have been able to do that. So I would have gave it a shot, but I don't think anybody's going to be able to do that again, honestly. But yeah, so. I was still trying to find my way as a starter, but as a reliever, like I came in, I just wanted to strike everybody out, and I had the stuff to do that in 07 when I was younger, and then 08 I came back trying to strike everybody out, and I would go 4 or 5 innings with like 100 pitches. Well, today that might work, but back then that didn't work. The goal was to go 6, 7 to save the bullpen usually, so. When I came back from getting sent down and everything, I just said, I'm going to pitch the contact, try to get these guys out and not worry about the strikeouts and everything like that. And it worked out for us. But yeah, for sure. I told them I was pissed off. I'm not going. I talked to the AAA pitching coach, who was one of my guys. And he's like, just come down here, man, and we'll get drunk every night or whatever. And I'm like, all right, screw it. Like, it's not like, I didn't want to put up too big of a stink because it didn't make me look selfish at the same time, So I just wanted them to know I was mad, but I was a team player, and once I realized that I wasn't helping the team out, I was like, all right, I'll go down there, and I told them I was like, my family's leaving. They worked with me, so I was like, my family's leaving to go back home to go to school, so they let me stay at home and just drive when I was going to pitch. So it wasn't like I was just stuck down there riding buses with them,
Well, and
which I did do a couple times. Yeah, I did go with the kids, the guys a couple times, but just because I felt terrible by not just being there all the time around them.
Oh, you're saying going on the bus
I was
trips?
sent down. Yeah, so I was sent down. Like, they let me stay and work out and train in Philly. Then I would just go to drive to whoever was at home, basically. Like, was AAA, it was at home, I'd go play there, or if AA was at home, I'd go pitch there. So that's kind of how they let me do it, so I could stay at home, basically.
Well, obviously, you were pretty damn helpful in the 08 postseason as a starter. So did you go up to Lidge at any point and be like, you know what, dude, I didn't want you here, but if this all didn't work out in this way, we might not have World Series rings?
Yeah, I would tell you that. So in spring training, he hurt his knee that year, and I was like, all right, I'm not happy that he got hurt, trust me, but I was kind of like, all right, they're going to give me a shot to be back in the as a closer. They're going to move me there, but he would made it back perfect time for the season. So I did have a little bit of thinking that because I really went into spring training wanting to be the closer still, and that was pretty selfish of me instead of just buying into what they really needed me for. And it took me, I guess, half a season to realize that that's what I wanted to do. And then towards the end of my career, when I ended up playing with AJ and the White Sox, I didn't want no part of that bullpen. The Astros put me in the bullpen after I threw 440 innings for them the past 2 years, and then new GM comes in, throws my ass in the bullpen at 32 years old. I'm like, I had hip surgery 2 years ago, dude. I don't know if I can bounce back like this,
Yeah, that's freaking crazy, man. I mean, and I would have thought most pitchers would say, if they've done both, oh, I want to be a starter. I want my routine. Right. I want my situation. I want to be in control of one game. And that wasn't the case for you, at least for a certain point. Obviously, as you said, later on, eventually you were like, screw this. But there was a point in your life where you were like, hey, I like the adrenaline rush and the closer vibes, right?
Well, I just I hated sitting around. Like, I wanted to play. I wanted a chance to play every day. I didn't really the 4 days in between makes you think too much. At least if you're relieving, then you can actually throw have a bad outing and then totally redeem yourself the next day.
That's crazy, man. Hey, take me back to some of the teammates that you were a part of that stood out the most too. Like, let's start with Philadelphia, obviously, and some of the characters that you were able to play ball with. We talked about Lidge, of course, in that storyline. But when you think back to your career, what are some of the moments and stories, especially that you maybe couldn't share back then, that you're able to talk about now?
Oh, well, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about any of those stories, quite honestly. I don't know how much AJ's told of everything, like some of the stuff we do and everything. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, we had a great squad, man. Like for in Philly and stuff. I think that we, I say we liked each other. We all had the same goal to win, but I'm not saying that we were going out and having dinner together, with everybody. So there was, when you're in a clubhouse with a guy, AJ can tell you this, you get tired of people's acts at times. And I know a lot of people probably tired of mine and at times too. So it's just like, it's like living with a person all the time. You're going to need your space to get away from them, I guess. But when we stepped across those lines, it was a different story. Like everybody had the same goal and same mentality to try to win. I mean, AJ's been on teams like that as well. So
yeah, of course. Did you have teams like that eventually? Like, did you ever end up with a team where it felt more like, oh, these guys are then going to go, hang out after the game?
Well, see, like, I guess, so for me, like, I learned probably the most when, like, after the game, good or bad. So in Houston, we didn't have any alcohol in the clubhouse or on the plane or anything like that. So like guys would go in there and change and be out of there. And so it was kind of like probably 3 or 4 of the veteran guys, I guess you would say. I'd bring a handle of Tito's in there and hide it in my locker, and we would just sit there and talk about the game. And we think that we're like overstaying our welcome there, but we were literally there for like maybe 45 minutes to an hour after home games and stuff like that, to just talking about the game. And I think that is gone in the game today. Like at least it started trending that way towards the end of my career, to where like I would like to sit there and have a few beers with the guys and find out what they're thinking or how they attack this guy, or if I'm pitching the next day or something, just trying to learn and see what their experiences were out there and stuff like that, or how we could get better and everything. I don't think that the game's talked about as much these days because of, and I wouldn't say that alcohol is the reason why we stuck around there, but it dang sure made the time go a little bit quicker and be able to say some things that we probably normally wouldn't say.
Do you feel like it was almost a period of kind of being able to, like put closure on whatever just happened and then move on? And does that hurt to not have that?
Yeah. So like it early in my career, I guess I was, I had Boa and Vukovic and them, and those are like old school guys, man. And which, I mean, I was a tough kid. I could handle whatever, but I remember coming in the clubhouse after maybe losing the game 2-1 or something like that. Nothing like, where like I had a pretty good outing, but I'd come in and I'd laugh at somebody's joke. And then next thing I know, I got Vukovic yelling at me, like, "What are you smiling at? You got your ass kicked yesterday." Like, I was like, well, I'm trying to put that behind me at this point, and that, I think that like, I don't feel like I should have had to be thinking about that outing as much as instead of looking forward to the outing. So, or to the next one. So, I think that's like some of that old school ways and stuff is definitely gone. But you got to be able to turn the page. I mean, hitters have a chance to go, or closers and stuff like that, to, you're only as good as your last at bat or your last outing type thing. But starters got to wait 4 days to figure out if they're going to be back on track or not. And I mean, it could mentally just wear you down, and you could have 3-4 bad outings, which happened to me in '08, and just couldn't get myself mentally on track.
Do you? How long did you stay after the game on August 13, 2004? Where you had to be there for 3 or 4 hours after that game? Do you know what happened in that game?
I have no idea. I was 24 years old. Oh, you mean when Borchard took me deep and I held the record at whatever Comiskey?
No, way worse. Way worse than that.
Way worse?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I took him deep for a 3-run homer.
Shit.
So he probably sat there.
Yeah.
See, exactly.
I didn't even know. That's how much I didn't care about you. No, I'm just kidding. I do. I was the guy. Like I didn't. They always tell you like solo homers don't beat you until you give up 6. Well, I shouldn't have gave up a 3-run homer to you. But that was that. Did we play a double? Was that a makeup game that day?
No, it was a regular game. I was with the Giants. It was when I was young. So you went 3 innings, 4 hits, 6 earnings, 5 walks.
Oh yeah, that was a pretty good outing. 5 walks. 5 walks. Better clean that shit up.
Yeah.
But So Borchard, were you with the White Sox?
No,
then?
but I remember that's a legendary home run that you.
Yep.
You gave
and
up.
I made it a point to end his career after that. Every time I faced him, I just struck him out every time because I was so pissed. I'm still mad about it. It was like 505 foot or something like that. I was like, well, I guess I was throwing hard enough for him to hit it that far.
Yeah. He like Joe Borchard did at whatever it used to be called U.S. Sailor, Comiskey.
Yeah.
Now it's called Guaranteed Right. He hit a ball up on the concourse. I think it's still the only one that ever went up.
It is. It's still the furthest, I'm pretty sure. I've heard somebody say it probably recently, I think. Over the last few years, I think I've heard them still talking about that. So I'm like, yep, that was me.
Well, you made his life. You really helped him out there, you know?
If Joe Borchard remembers for one thing.
Yeah, then he went to the Marlins, and I faced him a lot, so I was still pissed about it. I'd never forgot it, and I was just trying to strike him out every time. But I still didn't win that battle. No matter how many times I struck him out, he still took me deep 500-something foot.
Hey, so I'm also sitting next to, in addition to his name dropping skills, like a pretty good, pranker, and he enjoyed a good clubhouse laugh. So I would say, maybe, if not the best, it's one of the most legendary pranks of all time. You know what I'm talking about? The Kyle Kendrick story, which is, perfect for this crowd on Legends territory that also, sometimes is a younger crowd that might not remember the story or have heard of it before. It's in 2008. Right. So I'll let you tell it and give us anything that we didn't know about it.
So I got approached by Comcast about they wanted to prank somebody, and I was like, I don't know why, but they picked me, and I guess I probably was the right guy because I goof around and stuff and have a good time, but I was like, me and Madsen were probably the guys that would do it best. Well, Madsen didn't want any part of it, so I was like, well, Kendrick was my locker mate, and he's just so green, so gullible, just believe anything, man. And so they were like, do you have anybody in mind to do this to? And I was like, yeah, Kendrick will be the guy that for sure I can do this to. And so it was just, it took me probably 2-3 weeks to plan it out because I had to get the GM on board, the traveling secretary. And then I had the GM call his agent because I'm like, the first person he's going to call is his agent. And and I didn't put together like who he got traded for, like all the documents and stuff was all the GM and the traveling secretary. Like they came up with everything. Like it made it look real as shit. Like I didn't know all that was going on. I just had the storyline together, tried to put things in place, and they took it a little bit step further, I guess, to make it that good. Like Charlie was in on it. Like they knew about all that stuff. So the paperwork stuff was all what Ruben and Charlie and Frank Kopenbarger, traveling secretary, did, and so like who we got traded to and all that they all came up with that stuff. So so like the day came of it going down, and they did it all and like that. And we were just trying to play it off. I don't think I told anybody in the clubhouse what was happening either. So they were all surprised by it too. Like I kept it pretty tight to my chest to not let the cat out of the bag. And of course, the first thing he does is he calls his agent after, and his agent says, yes, it's true. And then come to find out down like the next day or so, when he found out it wasn't true, it was bullshit, he fired his agent. From what I heard, I was like, oh man, now I feel bad for the agent or whatever like that. But hey, man, you got to play a game. And then it blew up. Like it was crazy. I had everybody calling me when they released the video of it and everything. And I thought it was just going to be a little skit or something for people in Philly or something to see us having fun or whatever like that. next thing you know, we're on Good Morning America and everything. And I'm like, was it really that good? Like, I wasn't quite sure, but I mean, it dang sure took a lot of planning and a lot of timing, a lot of time to try to put the steps together. But he fell for that too easy. I thought he was going to cry, and I didn't know how long before I could tell him that we were just kidding. I wanted it to go on as long as I could, I guess, but I thought he was going to cry, man. Like the media found out about it that day. They knew it. They knew it was fake. Like when they asked him about going to Japan and stuff like that, and they knew it was fake at that point. So it was like I had to say something to him that he got punked, or yeah, it was. I read an article. Like I'm buddies with him. I talked to him, a lot and everything like that. But I read an article a few years ago that he was still pissed off about it. I'm like, dude, like, come on, man! It's one of the greatest pranks ever. I know you look stupid on it, but people are always going to remember your name now.
Dude, it was brilliant.
Dude, I played with him.
Brilliant. It was viral before viral was a thing.
2015 or 2016 with the Braves. He was in spring training with us, and we had dinner one night, and I asked him about it. And he laughed about it, but there was still some bitterness in there. But
he fired his agent over it.
I can't believe. Yeah, why do you fire your agent? Like your agent, that doesn't make sense. Like, why would you fire your agent?
His agent made him like Brett said. That everybody contributed to Kyle elevating his name. Like his name is more of a thing in baseball.
Dude, he's a great guy too, man. I feel bad. Now once I got to know him, I'm like, man, this.
He is a good guy.
How did you fall for that? Because they like traded him for like a hot dog or something, wasn't it? It was like
they like kind of like sold
Kobayashi.
How did you guys?
Yeah.
Oh right, you said
they traded him for Kobayashi.
That's right.
The hot dog eater.
Yeah, exactly.
How is that even a thing? Wait. Give me more context here. So,
it's not a thing. You can't get traded to Japan. So it's like he didn't know that. But I'm telling you, it was his. Maybe he was just going in, maybe his second year. He got called up the past year, and then this was going to be his first full season or something like that. And he came up and he pitched well for us. And then that spring training, they're like, yeah, we're going to trade you to the Yomiuri Giants or some shit like that in Japan. And I had to tell him at the end he got traded for a hot dog eater because he wasn't like, he was a baby. Like, he's like 20 something years old, and he from Washington State. I'm like, so like he probably hasn't had much like street smarts going on. So he was not. It was the perfect candidate at the time. Anybody else would have saw through that. They had to. They would have, but not him, because he would just believe. He would believe whatever he was trying to soak up all the big league atmosphere type thing and learn as much as he could. Well, I guess he learned not to trust me anymore.
I would not be able to say with a straight face that you got traded for the hot dog eating champ, because
I don't know how Charlie got through that. I don't know how Charlie got through it, man.
What does that even mean? Like I would.
But he didn't say the hot dog eating champ in the thing. He just said he got traded for Kobayashi. They didn't say
they didn't say the hot dog part.
Yeah,
no. You got traded for Kobayashi to the Giants.
Yeah,
and his face was priceless. He was just like, he turned white as a ghost. And he's like, oh, what?
The best thing was like, the traveling secretary had the itinerary set up and everything with like times and dates, like when he needed to be at the airport and all that other stuff. I'm like, oh my God, this is going just the way I planned it, just the way I wanted it to go. Like, it was so believable. Honestly, I would have believed it too, the way it was put together, man.
Wait, were you in the room?
No.
Were you actually in the office?
No, the cameras were kind of hiding outside the door. I had no part of it. When they were doing that stuff, we didn't even know I knew he was in there, but I didn't know how it was going until I saw the video. Like, when I saw the video, when they released it the next day, my phone started ringing at like 6 o'clock in the morning saying, oh my God, what the hell? This is the funniest shit I've ever seen. And I'm going, what are you talking about? I didn't know. All they did, I think, released it on YouTube and played it back in Philly. And then next thing I know, like, Good Morning America's at the field. Me and him are having to sit next to each other and talk about what went down and everything. And he's just pissed off the whole damn time. And I'm sitting there laughing my ass off. And I said, let me know when Victorino comes around, because he was the pie guy. I'm like, he's going to be showing up here in a second to pie me on TV or whatever, to, I guess, get me back or something. But damage was already done.
Dude, that was early viral days too. Like you mentioned YouTube. Yeah, it was put up there. Like YouTube started in 05. It really, gained popularity more in like 06. So, and this is 08. Like this is early virality.
Yeah.
This is not, like if this happened now to that extent and the way that you guys played it up. I mean, there have been pranks, but that was just so perfectly orchestrated. I don't think you guys realized how well that you pulled it off, which included, picking the right person.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't even know, like I'm saying, going viral and how it went crazy. Like, there's people that still send it to me on videos, like on, Instagram and stuff like that. They'll be like, "Oh, this is still hilarious," and I'm just like, "What? Like, what the heck, man?" Like, I mean, it's not. I think it's funny, but it's still people still think it's funny, and they're just now seeing it. They're like, "Oh my God, you did this!" I'm like, "Yeah, I did that 15 years ago, man." like you just now seeing it. That's kind of crazy. So.
Well, you've got a whole generation now of younger fans that have never heard of it before,
Yeah. I guess the point of, like, I don't think that people understood is that you couldn't get traded to Japan. So it wasn't like it was an actual trade thing. You can't get traded to Japan. So at the time, so I was like, I thought people would see through that, but they didn't. And it worked out perfectly.
That is freaking nuts.
Hey, Brett, speaking of pranks or things that went wrong, in 2012 you get traded to the White Sox. Remember, you had a Fu Manchu that was like,
it did. Yeah,
it was like this long, right? I mean, it was like it was like 6-8 inches long. Okay.
Yeah.
We also traded for Kevin Youkilis that year, and he came up with this brilliant idea: everyone grow a mustache, only a mustache for a playoff push.
Yeah, he did.
This son of a bitch trims his whole thing off. It was like this long. I mean, it was way down here, right? Youkilis goes 0 for 4. Shaves his mustache, and we're like, "That's it." And he's like, "Yep, that's it."
Yep, that's it.
Hey, Tim, I was thinking been going for like 3 years before Brett Myers. We're all like, "Oh shit, he's gonna be."
I didn't give a shit.
You were pissed at the time. You're like, "That son of a bitch."
Yeah, I was like, I don't care. I was like, whatever. I was trying to do it. I was the new guy there. I didn't really know anybody too well. I'm like, all right, they've been here longer, so it's like, all right, he wants to do this shit. Okay, let's do the mustache, whatever. And then none of it worked out for anybody. So I was trying to, yeah. That was probably the last time I had that.
We had some great chats though after the game. We would sit down and talk ball like he was talking about earlier. We get on the plane, sit in the back.
Well, because actually, I mean, and that's what he was mentioning. So Philly kicked back, then Houston, there was no alcohol in the clubhouse or on the plane.
Now I'm not saying that's the reason why we talked, but
I know, but like just create a vibe. That's not abnormal. Where a guy, guys kick back, have a beer, talk about the game. And I will say, there's still a few. It's not much. Like he was saying, it's pretty much dead. It's still there a little bit in a few spots I've heard where it's so rare. I think now that it stands out a ton. Right?
Yeah.
Where a guy will be like, "Yeah, it's cool. Like I went here, and there's actually a few guys that'll like hang for a little bit and kick back, have a beer, and talk about the game."
Well, I mean, AJ plays in these golf tournaments, and you get to meet some of these older guys. Man, I was just with old Ken Boyd and Jim Rice and stuff like that, and Sheffield, and because Sheffield's got a kid that's in that Colts, my oldest son's played with and against and stuff. So, and I played in the golf tournaments with him, just to like listen to those guys talk about the game still, because I mean, AJ's being able to do it by talking to us, I guess, every on this show and everything like that, but like. Well, there's nobody really for me to just sit down and talk to and have a beer with and talk about baseball, right? So, but they're home now. Like Travis Chapman's here, Brad Wilkerson lives up the street from me, and Willie Harris. So I get to talk to those guys a little bit when they get home. But when they're gone, they're doing their job, So you don't get that camaraderie, I guess, to try, because I've been trying to learn how all these launch angles and spin rate shit is, which I'm like, what does that even mean? Either the guy's out or he's throwing 95, whatever, Like you try to figure all that stuff out and ask these questions for these guys that are going through this stuff. Like Chapman was telling me the other day about how they want Judge to hit the ball on a 25-degree angle and some guys at 15-degree angle. I'm like, what? Like, what the hell is like? How can you decide on what pitch is coming what angle you can hit the ball at? And certain things like that. And then they were like big on the exit velocity. Like if you hit the ball harder, you're going to get more hits. Well, no shit. Like I'm like, I don't know what else you want me to tell you with that one. So, But I guess it's become an analytic game, and with these numbers and everything. And I was getting really ticked off sometimes in the playoffs because and it's something AJ could probably help me with on this too. So I've come up to the realization why these pitchers, these starters, are going like 4 or 5 innings and they're not getting them around to the third time through the order because they feel like that's when the numbers go down. Well, my personal belief is that when they come out inning 1 or first time through the lineup, they've already shown them everything that they're going to try to get them out with come the second time and third time through the order. Like they're not kind of like saving something. They've already shown them like, okay, this guy's weakness is inside. They just kept pounding him in. Well, these are big league hitters, man. At some point, they're going to make an adjustment and see how you're trying to get them out. They got videos and stuff over there too. So like for me, I was a guy that would try not to show them how I wanted to get them out as a starter in a certain situation with a guy on second or something like that. Like I would just pump fastballs to Albert Pujols until there was a guy, until he had runners in scoring position. I didn't want to show him anything because I mean, now he hit double after double that way, but I didn't want him to hit the 2 or 3 run bomb off me down the road or in later innings, So like that's kind of the thing why I watch these starters. They come out and it's like right off the bat. There's none of that establish your fastball type of stuff anymore,
No, well, it's changed because they're not developed that way. Also, Brett, you have to understand they're developed. And if you talk to the pitching coaches nowadays, they'll say, "Give me everything you got, first hitter." And you're throwing wipeout sliders the first hitter of the game. You're not like, okay, I'll paint one down and away and get him to swing at a first pitch.
Right.
And give me a quick out. It's like, oh no, let's throw slider. And I get it. It's just not the way they're developed. It's just changed. And the third time through thing, it goes along with what you said. They've seen everything the first time, 2 times through. So they're like, there's no surprise. You're like, oh, I can't save like my filthy slider for the third time through with the second and third. It just doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like, so I was told I had this question asked to me in A-ball, and the pitching coach asked me, he goes, what are you going to throw? What are you going to throw if the guy's a first pitch fastball hitter? I'm like, a curveball. He goes, why? And I said, because he's a first pitch fastball hitter. He goes, well, why don't you just throw a well-located fastball away and let him get himself out in one pitch? Well, now it's kind of like the reverse of that, where the guy's like, oh, he's a first pitch fastball hitter. I'm going to throw him all these sliders and stuff like that. And instead of like trying to save that, maybe you can get an early out. I mean, hitting's not easy, man. It's not easy, especially with these guys' stuff they got these days, throwing 100 or if that's even legit. But who knows? I know the game evolves and training methods change, but I think we just did it on beer and grit, I guess.
Acting like it's like, so long ago it wasn't. On the topic of Judge, though, he did say, at the end of the season, because for the Yankees, the expectations are high. So they freak out their fan base that, they had a 500 season where, plenty of teams would take the success that they've had in terms of making it to the playoffs. Yes, they haven't won since 2009, really the year after you guys won, right? But Judge was like, hey, we're going to make some changes. And he thinks that they're kind of analyzing things from a number standpoint, not in the right way.
Yeah.
Did you see Brian Cashman's tirade at the GM meetings the other day where he came out?
I did not.
Okay. He was just like, I think we have a good fucking team. And just, it was a lot more, I would say, juice than you'd usually see from a front office executive, because they're kind of going through it right now where there are people that are accusing them of not utilizing the right analytics and the right communication tools to get things across from their R&D department.
I found, so just from knowing 2 guys that live literally 5 minutes from me for the Yankees, and it's not like insider trading information or whatever, but when Wilkerson got the job to be a hitting coach in New York, like he said, there's 3 hitting coaches. Like he said, there's 3 guys. So like if you're having 3 different opinions and 3 different things coming at you as a hitter, I can tell you right now, I can't do everything this guy's telling me if this guy's telling me something different. So that usually doesn't work. And it just, in my experience with having different pitching coaches and stuff like that, everybody's going to tell you something different.
Brett, I mean, this is what I didn't play, but some of the coaches will say, well, some of us will connect with one dude. We've talked about this a little bit, right? You might, no?
No. I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, like no,
you might hate one. You might be like, I love Brad, but I hate James. You know, so I'm going to talk to Brad. So I'm just going to ignore him.
Well,
it's
see,
almost like a
then it's like
coach.
Then it's like, but then it's like you're stepping on the head dude's toes or whatever, whoever the top dude is, like I just want to listen to him. Fuck you over here, like it's just like, it'd be a hard dynamic to try to keep everybody happy if you're, but instead of just going, you know what, Brad played in the big leagues. I don't think the other guys they had there did. So he's been through it. He knows it ain't easy type of stuff. And I'm not, it'd be like having 3 pitching coaches for me, man. Like I wouldn't know which one this one's going to help. Now, if this one tells me one thing that helps me, and then this one's over here telling me something completely different in a completely different way, like I just think it needs to be dumbed down for the guys just to go play, because obviously these guys are talented enough to make hundreds of millions of dollars and hit baseballs really fucking hard. So, like, maybe sometimes too much information is a bad thing.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's
the problem is like what he said. If you have 2 guys that aren't on the same page, they have to be connected lockstep, right? So, and I went through it one year where the hitting coach was the hitting coach, and then the assistant was the guy I wanted to talk to, and the hitting coach got his feelings hurt. Yeah, because I didn't really want to talk to him. But I'm like, well, you're not speaking the same language. You're talking You're talking 2 + 2, and we're talking calculus here, and you want to take me. And I'm like, it's not. Let me just deal with this guy, and you go deal with the rest of them, and I'll be fine. And it makes it kind of awkward at times, but we're big boys.
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
Adults, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. I just feel like it would like create animosity towards each other. You know what I'm saying? Unless like those 3 hitting guys or 3 pitching coaches, whatever they got these days, but would all like be on the same page, like just saying, hey, this is what we worked on with him today, blah, blah, blah. Or they're all sitting there listening to what this guy, I don't know. It just could be a confusing thing for me. Of course, I need everything dumbed down for me, when needed as simple as possible. Like you're coaching a 7-8-year-old. Okay. So like, you just have to tell them, do this, do that, like just dumb it down. So I just don't start to overanalyze everything, because that's usually when I would get in trouble, start overanalyzing everything.
Yeah. You don't want it to all get into your head. There's enough to worry about.
That's right. Right.
Well, Brett, it was awesome catching up with you, man. We appreciate the time.
You guys having me.
Great to have you on here. Keep doing your thing in the music life too. So we'll keep an
try
eye on that in the meantime.
That'll work. I appreciate you guys having me.